What's up, Spartans? Batman here to go over the Sandbox balance updates that are coming with the winter update. But before we get started, please subscribe for more Halo content.
TST Gaming, your destination for all things Halo.
So this week has been filled with nothing but Halo article after Halo article from 343, detailing everything we can expect come November 8th, when the winter update launches. This is going to be a huge article in general because of the fact that it's going to change up how we play the game going forward, at least until March, which seems to be their cadence, which is when the next season comes out, they do some balancing and adjustments. Last time they adjusted things, it was mostly vehicle related. This time it's mostly weapon related, so this one's going to really change up, not just the meta in terms of what people like to use, but also for the HCS Pro League for year 2. So the first update that's coming to the Sandbox is with the plasma pistol. They said many players reported that the plasma pistol was underperforming against Spartans, especially when using its overcharged shot. To help the overcharged shot track as expected at mid to close range, we've updated its values slightly in the winter update. We also noticed the base shot was not seeing much use, so we've increased the damage of the base shot to make it a more viable option for players. Now, the more specific details, the tuning details as they call them, is increased base shot damage from 20 to 28, increased charge shot angular velocity from 20 to 35 degrees per second, and increased charge shot guided angular velocity at rest from 50 to 70 degrees per second. Next on the list is the pulse carbine. They said even as players have gotten more proficient with the pulse carbine, it has not been as successful in short to mid range as we would like. To help with this, we've updated the tracking to help it out in shorter range. To help balance out its power though, we'll be reducing its tracking at longer range. These changes should help player land shots more consistently in short to mid range while slightly reducing the effectiveness at longer ranges. Tuning details for the pulse carbine are increased guided angular velocity at rest from 25 to 35 degrees per second, decreased angular velocity from 50 to 30 degrees per second, increased targeted leading fraction from 0.35 to 1, and increased guided projectile error radius from 0.2 to 0.22 degrees. Next up is VK78 Commando. They said that one of the most common pieces of feedback we've seen is that aiming with the VK78 Commando felt loose, especially at shorter range. To help increase its effectiveness up close, we've slightly increased the bullet magnetism and slightly reduced the high minimum error. We've seen this help players finish off targets at closer range during internal playtests, so we're eager to see how this plays out in the wild. Tuning details are increased headshot prioritization angle from 0 to 0.1 degrees, increased bullet magnetism angle from 1.25 to 1.3 degrees, increased aim assist angle from 5 to 6.25 degrees, and decreased minimum error angle max from 0.8 to 0.6 degrees. They are making changes and updating the BR-75. They said, we want the BR-75 to remain the versatile weapon that we know and love, but also have noticed it has been performing a bit too well, making it not feel as rewarding as it should. In the winter update, we wanted to raise the skill ceiling on landing the final kill shot, as well as reduce its effectiveness at range from the hip. These changes should help make kills with the BR-75 feel even more rewarding. Tuning details. Headshot prioritization angle reduced from 0.25 to 0.2 degrees. Bullet magnetism angle reduced from 2.4 to 2.2 degrees. Bullet magnetism range reduced from 20 WUS to 18 WUS. Bullet magnetism fall-off range reduced from 12 WUS to 10 WUS. Frag grenade. Note, the frag grenade has received feedback that it's a bit too effective and that throwing one just before dying results in easier trades than intended. In order to help address these issues, we've increased the detonation time slightly. This will give players a little bit more time to react to a grenade that has landed near them. It will also reward players for better placed grenades. Tuning details, increased detonation timer by 0.2 seconds. Snap slide. Movement is always tricky to balance. We want to allow players to express their movement skill in matches, but we also don't want that movement tech to completely break maps or create unpredictable gameplay flow. For example, curb sliding and its current uses have been fun to watch and hasn't been interrupting gameplay flow too much. On the other hand, snap sliding allows players to make jumps that could truly break the game flow. Tuning details. Fixed a physics bug that allowed snap sliding. Disruptor. The disruptor has started to see more use as we've gotten further into Halo Infinite's lifespan, but it still isn't doing as well as we'd hope. To help with this, we're updating the ammo count to help players close out kills a little more easily. We've also spotted reports of the damage over time effect being inconsistent, and we'll be working to get an improvement on a future update. Tuning details, increased magazine ammo count from 10 to 12. They said we'll be watching the data and community feedback closely when these changes land with the winter update, so be sure to let us know what you think once you've had a chance to give them a go. And so that's what we can expect from the winter update. However, they went beyond and gave us some information about future updates that they're looking at. So they said, beyond the winter update though, we do know that there's still more to go after to improve the feel of the game. So in the next few months, we'll be releasing balance updates, mouse and keyboard input improvements, and bug fixes for networking, desync issues faster than we have previously. In addition to any topics that may emerge after the winter update, here are a few other things that are on our list for the next few months. Please note that this list isn't exhaustive, but is meant to provide some insight to what we're already working on. PC and mouse and keyboard input improvements. Aiming improvements. As players have gotten more hands-on time with the game, we've seen feedback emerge around how aiming and tracking players feels on mouse and keyboard. We know there's room for improvement and some updates are on the way. Red Reticle on PC. Red Reticle has been a common piece of feedback since flighting, and we're happy to be bringing it online in the future. While turning this on for PC does open the game to new cheating vectors, we want to enable this and better support our PC players. If a plethora of cheats pop up because of this, we may need to reconsider, but until then, we're excited to see how this feels for PC players. Scroll wheel. We felt this one too. When using a scroll wheel to swap weapons, sometimes it could double swap, essentially YYing. We'll be updating how the game reads scroll wheel inputs to help reduce how often this happens. Walk key. Right now, walking on mouse and keyboard has two modes, full walking speed or crouch walking. On control, you can choose to walk slowly and avoid radar detection, just by how much you move the thumbstick. Since keyboards only have the walk forward at full speed option, we'll be introducing a way for them to walk at slower speed without needing to fully crouch walk in a future update. These input improvements will also carry over to players who use mouse and keyboard on Xbox consoles. Networking desync improvements. To go after networking improvements, including desync, we needed to identify all the various ways that issues could present themselves. As covered in our Closer Look blog covering the topic, there isn't a single issue causing all of the problems many classify as desync. Each issue has its own individual bug that we have to find, investigate, reproduce, fix, test, and implement. In the case of networking and desync, we focus on a few key areas. Desync, when the server says you're in one place on the map while your client shows you in a different spot. Blank shots, you fire shots at a player and see them connect but the bullets deal no damage. Getting shot around walls and corners. You think you're safely around the corner but you're dealt a fatal blow from a player who no longer has line of sight on you. Ghosts melees, when you melee a player and hear the hit but no damage is dealt. In addition, they have some balance updates. Drop shot. The drop shot or drop weapon meta, which allowed players to pull up their secondary weapon faster by dropping the primary weapon, was interesting at first, but ultimately became problematic during normal gameplay. We kept an eye on it, especially in high-level matches, and agreed with community feedback that it is just too strong for how easy it is to pull off. As a result, we are planning to bring the drop shot time in line with the speed of just swapping weapons in a future update. Thruster. While we do want equipment to tip the scales of a fight, we've started to see Thruster come out on top of 1v1 engagements more than we intended. We plan on adjusting this a bit to make sure it's no longer tipping the scales too far in one direction. Energy Sword. We've noticed that the Energy Sword can be a little too effective on maps with tighter corners. To help bring it in line with where we'd like, we'll be updating the melee trade logic on the Energy Sword. Right now, if both players are no shields and they melee each other, the player with the Energy Sword will survive with a sliver of health. This upcoming update will update the melee logic so both players trade melees and die, which should help prevent the Energy Sword from just tearing through teams without trading. Competitive weapon respawn timers. Throughout Halo Infinite's first HCS season, the amount of power through on-map pickups like weapons on each arena map became a common discussion point. Most competitors felt like there was too much power on the map for pickup, which allowed the matches to snowball. To help address this, we'll be reducing how quickly weapons respawn as well as how many of each weapon can be on the map at any given time in ranked arena. We'll share full details around these changes before they land in a future update. So, this is a much bigger update to the Sandbox than we've had previously. And the fact that multiplayer's been out for almost a year and we're finally getting these updates, I think is a good sign. We're getting a lot of changes and balance adjustments with the winter update, and I really can't wait to get my hands on some of these weapons to see how the Sandbox will feel with the new changes being made by 343. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of these changes. Was there anything that you think they shouldn't have changed, or is there something you wish that they would change that was not listed here? And that's all we have for today. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching TST Gaming, and until next time, just play.